What is going on, everybody? Welcome to Sixers post-game live. Sixers get the W here in overtime. 129-126 over the Pacers. High-effort game. Highly entertaining game. Help me breaking it down. My man Tiago at TiagoPHL on Twitter. If you're not following him, you're doing it wrong, Sixers fam. What is up, Tiago?
Chris, I haven't submitted my Defensive of the Year ballot yet, but my Defensive Player of the Year right now is James Harden. He surprised us all tonight with his defensive play, defensive effort. The Pacers had a bullseye on him late in the game and into overtime, and he absolutely answered the bell for the most part. I thought he was exceptional with the game on the line defensively, which is something we don't really say much about James Harden. So, yeah, it was a very fun game to watch.
Yeah, absolutely, guys. If you're watching us live, comment, let us know your reaction here. A solid win over a competitive team like the Pacers. Charles is in the house. The literal top takeaway was Tyrese Maxey steal late in the fourth quarter. Unbelievable play from him. We're going to get into the Maxey because the dude has been struggling getting his swagger back, and it got back here against the Pacers, man. It's good to see. Quentin says, holy crap, I turned the game off when we were down 4 late. Dude, that fourth quarter offense from the Sixers was absolutely dreadful, which was really frustrating because the entire takeaway of this game was there was a lot of ball movement. The offense was looking really strong. Guys were stepping up the bench. Tobias was efficient. I just admire Tobias stepping up every time Embiid goes down. Tobias does everything when playing any kind of role, wearing all the different types of hats he needs to. And we saw Maxey kind of get his swagger back. So just general takeaways of this game from you, Tiago.
I think you can go a lot of different ways. Obviously, when Joel Embiid is not playing, the first thing you go to is how the Sixers going to make up for his lack of offense and even more importantly, his lack of defense. And I thought that we have to give the guy credit. I thought Montrezl Harrell was superb tonight. I thought that without his effort on both ends of the court, the Sixers stood no chance, primarily because PJ Tucker was once again a disaster on all levels, and he provided the Sixers nothing on either end. So things really started to click for the Sixers when Harrell came in the game, and I thought that as a rim protector, high-energy guy, effort around the glass, able to catch the ball and dunk, something that PJ Tucker struggles with, putbacks, taking charges, something that PJ Tucker prides himself on, and we haven't seen him do that either. So he pretty much did everything we expected PJ to do at the 5. And if it wasn't for his play tonight, man, the Sixers would have not won this game. He was sensational, absolutely sensational.
It's interesting because the Sixers are now 6-3 this season without Joel Embiid. Like in years past, like it's pretty much the opposite. 6-3 without Joel Embiid. All right, let's go into James Harden tonight. Really, I thought, like Tiago said, defensively had a really strong game. He had a block on Mathurin. It's Mathurin, right? Mathurin.
Yeah.
And that was a huge moment in this basketball game, keeping momentum on the Sixers side. James Harden finished with 26 points on 8 of 20 from the field, 8 assists, 6 rebounds. Here's his shot chart right here, but I don't need to tell you how good he's been over the last 11 games. Coming into this one, 40% from 3, dishing out a ton of assists. I mean, this was a game between Halliburton and Harden, just two incredible playmakers. What are your thoughts on Harden's game?
I thought he was best run came in like the second quarter, or it might have been late first quarter, second quarter, when the Sixers kind of need him to take over, be more aggressive. Like that. And I thought he did that. So I thought the Sixers were struggling to generate offense early in the game, and I thought he really kind of asserted himself on offensively, and the Sixers really needed that early in the game. I think the offense was up and down, and I thought that in the fourth quarter, the turnovers became an issue. So I was about to say this in the podcast. The Sixers had not turned the ball over at all during the game, and all of a sudden the fourth quarter hits and Harden's trying to make, bounce passes through people's legs and, bounce passes to PJ Tucker, and PJ Tucker takes 15 minutes to react. So it became kind of messy. But again, we have to talk about the defense because, I mean, you can clearly tell that Indiana was like, we're going to go after this guy. We don't believe that this guy can defend. And granted, there were a couple possessions where like Halliburton took him on and made him look pretty bad. And there was one possession in particular where he kind of put him on skates and attacked the rim and threw a lob to Miles Turner. But overall, I thought that it was a net positive defensively. I mean, that was a play where the guy came back door. He stuffed him at the rim on a block, which was incredible. I've never seen Harden make that type of play.
I know.
It's incredible. I mean, the effort was 100%. And even in one-on-one, the isolation possessions, he was able to stay connected on multiple possessions on Halliburton and then Mathurin, who'd also try to attack him. So, yeah, man, I mean, it was phenomenal. And then when he got beat, Harrell was there to protect it. So, overall, it's exactly the kind of effort the Sixers needed. And, I mean, if Sixers get this type of hardened on defense, man, that's gravy for sure.
Yeah, I don't know if, like, it made him look faster, but he seemed to be, like, his attacking the basket has gotten better and better and better. He's getting by his man better. Do you have that same vibe?
Yeah, I think he can get by certain players. I don't think he can get by all the players. I think there are players in the NBA he can definitely get by. But I think where he struggles is at the rim because the lift is no longer there. I mean, he used to like jam on people's heads. Now he's not even able to kind of get to the rim. So, but I mean, that's okay because he's supplemented that with the playmaking, the passing, the floater is still there every now and then. So, and then getting to the line, drawing contact. So I'm okay with that. He's not the same player. That guy's gone, but there's still enough juice there to attack. Yeah. You want him to be more assertive at times, but I think he understands there's plenty of playmakers on this team that he can take over.
I think he squashed all expectations coming into this season. It's just a matter of like, can he go like just a little bit further for the playoffs? It's kind of the question. We have RJ saying Terrifier. Harold, we're going to talk about him next. RJ says he's him. Fantastic win, says Sixers fan 229. Best game Trez has played as a Sixer. Besides that one preseason game against Cleveland, he balled out. No Sean tonight. He is at the game as media, so Sean will be on for the next one for sure. Mr. Rudy Poo's in the house. Say Melton has quickly become my favorite player. I could not agree with that comment anymore, man. DeAnthony Melton had some terrific moments, big moments in this game, getting this game into overtime. But we got to talk about Montrezl freaking Harrell because I have not been the biggest fan of Montrezl Harrell this year. This game was like that like Space Jam movie where like the aliens steal all the talent and Harrell was one of those dudes and he was just a man possessed. Some fantastic dunks, finishing through contact. The Pacers had absolutely no answer for him. That pick and roll with him and Harden, man, or if it's Maxey and Harrell, it looked good tonight. What were your thoughts on Montrezl Harrell having his best, a career best game for the Sixers?
Yeah, I've said a lot about Harrell, and we get on Montrezl a lot, primarily because we're both Paul Reed fans, and we believe that Paul Reed should be true. And even with Harrell out there, I still think you can play them both in different situations. But that being said, you can kind of understand why Doc likes him because he makes a lot of smart decisions. And that's something that occasionally Paul Reed struggles with. Decision-making for Paul is not his strong suit. Athleticism, defense, creating and generating defensive events. And those things have value and those things belong on the court. But when you talk about closing games out, right, you see Montrezl catch the ball off the roll and find an open corner shooter. Paul Reed is throwing that ball six rows into the stands. It's just the way that he's played over the course of his career. So, yeah, you understand it. I still like to see them both play. But overall, I think Montrezl has been a positive for the Sixers. And games like tonight, you see why he's on the roster. And now, granted, what they had to go through to put him on the roster is a different thing. We can talk about that because there's a question around who do you think the Sixers should get at the deadline. And there's a specific player that they had on the roster that was blowing up in the NBA now. But that being said, I think that Montrezl has been very, very good for the Sixers this year.
You stole my fire, man. I was going to add that.
No, I didn't say the name yet, man.
I was going to save that for the end of the show. All right, maybe I will. We'll see what happens. All right, but yeah, this was just such a high effort win for the Sixers. You look at rebounding. This team has struggled with rebounding. They only got beat by 4 boards today, and I think Harrell was a big piece of that. There was a big moment in this game where Harrell got an offensive board and a dunk and was just jacked up, just juiced.
Yeah.
It was a great moment in this one. Sixers fan 229 says, who's a guy you would like to see the Sixers go after before the deadline? Anyone that's athletic is someone that I would like to see added to this roster.
Can I make a point on that? Because when you watch the starting lineup, it's very clear that they have Tobias on one corner, PJ on the other corner. They got Melton on one of the wings. And then you got Harden operating off the middle. And then you got Joel, obviously, when he's on the court doing his thing. When the ball swings to PJ Tucker, bro, you got to shoot the ball. You got to shoot the ball. Because if you're not shooting the ball, you're resetting the offense with 6 or 7 seconds left on the clock. And at that point, it's chaos. So if you're asking me, what do the Sixers need? PJ Tucker is not going to shoot the ball. He's not going to play defense. He's not going to catch the ball. He's not going to pass the ball. He's not going to do anything out there. Then you need somebody in the corner that's going to catch and shoot like Tobias has ever since Harden's gotten here. So the name that they had here was Isaiah Joe, who, if you guys have been following him over the last couple of weeks in the NBA, is turning into one of the better three-point shooters in the league. So they're not going to get Isaiah Joe anymore, obviously, because they felt obligated to get rid of him. But a player of that type, like a Danny Green level decision maker from the corner, right? A guy who's just going to shoot it. Just shoot the ball, man. And PJ Tucker is good enough a three-point shooter where he should be taking those shots. And the fact that he's not taking those shots is irritating because that is the single reason why you're there right now. So shoot the ball or get the hell off the court.
Absolutely agree. Can they win with guys like PJ Tucker in the playoffs, Montrezl Harrell? Like, that's kind of the continuous thought process I go through every single game. Mr. Rudy Poo says Melton is good for at least one clutch 3, while Toby was good for at least one layup blocked. Always. That, oh my gosh, the roof was ready to just, the Sixers fans were ready to tear down the building if Tobias had finished that amazing bounce pass from Harden in transition. Remember that play in the fourth quarter? That was a sick pass, man. That was going to be epic. But Rudy Poo says, not going to lie, this team needs one more 3-and-D guy. Absolutely agree. Tori Thompson 870 says, why won't the Cavs just lose so we can leap them?
Why? Because Donovan Mitchell has gone absolutely bonkers.
Yeah.
I mean, he's definitely made the leap for sure.
All right, let's get into Tyrese Maxey. Again, didn't shoot the ball extremely efficiently. Here is his shot chart, but let's talk a bit about Maxey. He had 17 points. It was a +5 today, 1 of 4 from 3-point range. He had some pretty epic moments here in the fourth quarter. The biggest play from Tyrese Maxey in this one was that fourth quarter steal. They were, I believe, down 4, and Maxey stole the ball, cut the lead till 2, and then got the ball again in transition, missed the layup, but Tobias had his back, got the putback, forced overtime. Tiago, what was your take on Maxey? Is he slowly coming back?
Yeah, I was surprised to see that much red. I didn't look at the box score, and I thought that he had shot a little bit better from the field. I thought this was probably his best game since his return, and specifically speaking, when Harden was on the bench, that first, second quarter run, I thought he really did a great job taking the offense over. You could clearly tell he was way more comfortable attacking the basket. I thought his playmaking in that first half was really, really good. It was a play where he collapsed the defense, found, I think, Tobias off the corner. Next play, he found Harrell on the dunk. So plays like that illustrate the value that he brings offensively. I thought the second half, he became a little bit more hesitant again on offense. There's a possession where he kind of dribbled the clock out and then gave Harden the ball with like 3 seconds left. I'm like, man, make a decision or get out of the way. Defensively, it's still hit or miss. Obviously, the steal in the fourth quarter is tremendous. but the Sixers have him operating from the top of the zone. They played a lot of zone tonight without Joel, obviously. They went a lot zone. And by him at the top of the zone, he takes these weird angles and he creates these driving lanes, which defeats the purpose of the zone. So I'm not sure him at the top of the zone, that 2-3 zone they play is ideal. They have a guy like Thibault that can play that role. So we'll see if they kind of change that up. But I think that you're seeing him slowly come back to the old Tyrese, and there are no reasons to be concerned about him whatsoever.
Yep. What's your thoughts on that 3-guard lineup, like Maxey, Harden, and Melton? Do you think that's getting better since he's returned? Where do you see that going, progressing right now for the Sixers?
Yeah, I definitely think it's an alternative for the Sixers to explore. I am all for exploration in the regular season, man. If you want to go 5-guard lineups, kind of like what Boston does sometimes, I'm okay with that. Do anything and anything that you can think of and see if the stuff works. These are the games to try it out. Do I think it's going to work in the postseason? Perhaps. But I'm very hesitant to put Max and Harden, even though they both play well defensively for the most part, to put them both out there on the court on a defensive possession in a game 7 of a playoff game. I'm not sure that is going to be what's going to get you a win in a playoffs. But again, his offense is definitely valuable and it should be considered when making those decisions. I will say though that Melton becoming an elite catch and shoot player is a big development for the Sixers. I mean, you saw it tonight. 5 3-pointers I think he finished with. Since December 1st, he's 5th in the NBA in catch and shoot points. That's up there with like Klay Thompson and Larry Markkinen. So it's just tremendous what they're getting out of him right now. It's elite level production, exactly what they want out of that role. So that definitely changes the equations for the Sixers for sure.
Yep, absolutely. Let's talk a little bit. Let's go to some comments real quick. On the Hunt says, Jay Crowder, please. We have another vote for Robert Covington. The Clippers don't play him. Patrick says, what's up, boys? What's going on, man? What's happening, dude? D'Anthony Melton is clutch. Man, Melton's, we just kind of touched on him. Just one of the most underrated pickups for the Sixers for sure. And I loved it from the jump. Let's go into Tobias Harris. Another solid game from Tobias. Here is his shot chart. Tobias Harris finished with 19 points, 8 of 18 from the field, and 10 boards, 3 assists, and a block. Any thoughts? Quick thoughts on Tobias?
Yeah, I love this game, man. I'm not even going to look at the box score and the shot chart because I thought that he made a ton of great decisions. Really playmaking off the bounce. A lot of times when a defense collapsed him in the corner, took on his defender, found the open shooter, didn't really try to force anything at the rim, something that he's tried in the past. I just love where he's at as a player for the Sixers. Granted, they're paying him big-time money to play a much-reduced role, but this is what it is at this point, man, and it's working. So keep doing what you're doing, man. I thought that, again, this could have been a game where Tobias tries to isolate the entire Pacers defense, and we've seen how sometimes those games don't go very well for him. And at no point in time did I find himself bouncing the air out of the basketball. I thought he just flowed into the offense once again and was very productive and had that huge putback with 8 seconds left.
Yeah.
All out hustle play for Tobias on that putback for sure.
Yeah, I love to see that, man. If I had to tell you, I'm going to have you guess because a lot of the critique about Tobias Harris was not shooting from 3 enough. I think for the Sixers, averaging around 2 a game coming into this season. How many games this year has Tobias Harris shot 2 or less 3-pointers this season? What would be your rough guess?
Like 3 or 4?
2.
2, yeah. Seems about right.
Only 2 games this year he's had 2 3-pointers or less, man. Kudos to Tobias, man. That's fantastic.
Exactly, man. And I'm sure there's a lot of them where he shot like 7 or 8 a game. I'm sure that number is much higher. So, yeah, that's the Tobias you want, man. We've talked a million times. I think that let him do his thing. I still see a world where they're closing games out without Maxey, and they have Tobias out there as the third guy, and he's going to be asked to deliver on some clutch shots down the stretch. I think there's no questions about that.
I agree. Tori says, at this point, what would you take to move Tobias, and what would be an acceptable package for him if we did? I mean, it always comes back to the money, but at this point, I'd rather keep him if he can wear this many hats and play with this much effort and shoot this well efficiently from three with Embiid and with Harden. I'm good with Tobias where we're at. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, when you talk about trading Tobias, you got to ask the very basic question: is are they getting a better player in return? Because they are in a win now mode. So you got to start thinking about what team would be willing to accept Tobias's contract, and you probably have to go towards teams that are rebuilding who want to take in that money and kind of rebuild their team. And at that point, what are they offering the Sixers that is Oklahoma City going to offer SGA? No. So they're going to offer like Josh Giddey. Josh Giddey's a fun player. I don't even think they can get Josh Giddey, actually. So the Sixers have to incentivize that much, much more.
Yeah.
But I'm just using that as a theoretical example. What did the Sixers would do with somebody like Josh Giddey? Like, nothing. He does nothing for the Sixers this year. So I think that you got to think about what this year looks like for the Sixers. And then if they need to blow it up, absolutely, Tobias becomes your trade chip at that point. But right now, you got to ride with Tobias, man. Unless a team is willing to give up an equivalent player. And he's playing at a tremendous level. So I don't see that happening.
Trey Murphy? No, I'm just kidding. I'm still not over Trey Murphy not being a Sixer.
He would have been great.
All right. Let's get into player of the game, man. Who is your player of the game for the Sixers?
Yeah, I mean, my player of the game is Montrezl Harrell. I'm sorry, Chris. I got to take this. I'm not going to give many chances to give Montrezl a shout-out, and I'm not going to miss out on this opportunity. So give my guy Trez some love. I promise to slow up on the Paul Reed cries because he's playing well. When guys are playing well, I'm not going to be unfair to them. So, but he was sensational tonight.
I kind of want to go to Anthony Melton with this one. I thought Melton had a really strong game. 5 threes, 19 points, 7 boards, only 1 turnover. I just get more impressed. I think there's like just maybe some potential there for him as a playmaker moving forward as well. I just love his game so much. Tori says, my pipe dream is DeMar if the Bulls continue to suck. Interesting.
Yeah. A question I have, though, is DeMar is a heavy isolation player, lives in the paint, loves to do that fadeaway in the paint kind of thing. That's where Joel lives, man. So I don't even know how that would work. But I get it. He's a great player. He's a better player than Tobias, no question.
Have you seen like overall, I think the Sixers offense has been improving, getting better and better and better. And I saw the other day that the Sixers aren't the highest frequency team, ISO team in the NBA. Like, do you think we're going to kind of see a little bit of a trend where we see a little more pick and roll as the season progresses because they're among the lowest in the league when it comes to pick and roll and cutting to the basket? Or is this just what it is? With Embiid, it's just going to be feed the big man, clear out, hero ball. What are your thoughts on that?
Chris, there is no world under Doc Rivers where the Sixers are introducing emotion in their offense. The only reason why the Sixers are not the top isolation team in the NBA is because there's a guy called Luka Doncic, and Dallas is the #1 team in isolation. I think the Sixers are like number 2 or 3 after that.
Yeah.
If you looked at last year's splits from the regular season into the season, they went so ISO heavy. They completely eliminated the pick and roll from their game. And that is a staple of Doc Rivers as a coach. It's been his staple throughout his entire career. So the Sixers are either going to win or lose a championship on their ability to hit shots, tough shots in isolation. If you look at shot making versus shot quality, if you imagine like a quadrant, right? The Sixers are at the very, very top of teams that make tough shots and take awful shots. And they're along with like Brooklyn, and there's other teams there, but these teams rely on their talent to hit shots, and that's what it is. There's not going to be guys cutting like you've seen Sacramento or where you've seen Denver. That's just not the offense that they run. So it's going to be on mostly Joel and Harden to hit those shots. And if they don't, the Sixers are not going to win a championship.
And I definitely think Maxey as well, taking that just 2-3 steps forward in his progress. I think that's a big reason why there's such less interest in this team, because they're kind of maxed out, right? Like the Sixers are what they are, and if they're going to run that kind of offense, I think Sixers fans are just simply waiting for the playoffs.
Yeah, from a guy who loves motion, I watch teams like Golden State, Sacramento, Denver. The Sixers, when they had Brett Brown early, were a high motion team with Ben Simmons. They were fun to watch, man. They were so fun to watch. I mean, that's the kind of basketball that I love. The Sixers not that team anymore. They're old, slow, stagnant. Today, they're a little quicker because Joel wasn't there, and they introduced more motion and more movement. His pace might have been a little bit up. But, like, it's just not aesthetically pleasing, but it's effective, right? They're with Hart on the court, they're one of the better half-court offenses in the NBA. But the regular season is one thing. The postseason is something else. And like we've always said, do you have anything else in your bag when the shots aren't falling, right? Yeah. So when Joel's struggling, Harden is struggling, they're not getting to the line, what are you going to go to next? And that's where I struggle to see the Sixers offense countering, because they get into their offense late on the clock, they dribble the air of the basketball, and then they don't have any other alternatives to that. So, but again, we'll see when the time comes.
But that's been the pattern, right? Like when Embiid is not on the court, we've seen more ball movement. We see more passing. We see more motion. We've seen higher pace. That's the reason why the Sixers are now 6-3 without Joel Embiid, albeit they haven't played anybody, but they're a plus 61 in those games without Joel Embiid. I don't know. So that's a different show. All right, but how would you grade today's win?
I give it an A, man. Pacers are a decent team. They're a feisty team. They have a tremendously talented point guard in Tyrese Halliburton, a name that, for what we had heard, was available in the Ben Simmons space. And the more you watch him, man, it's like, wow, they might have missed on a generational player here as well. Now, granted, Harden has been overall very good for the Sixers, and it meets their timeline of win now. But, man, I'll be surprised if Tyrese Halliburton is not a top 7 to 8 player in the NBA in the next, 3 to 4 years. Yeah, maybe I'm a little bit bullish on him, but the guy is an unbelievable player.
Yeah. Halliburton finished the game with 16 points, 12 assists in 39 minutes. I was going to say my player of the game was you, Tiago, for nailing and staying true to the brand on the Isaiah Joe take, because I don't know, we kind of already touched on that. All right, Tori Thompson says, how tight is the East? We have to rack up wins now, because then the season, the schedule is brutal. The Sixers have a pretty easy schedule coming up here to really get moving and get some dubs. So I grade this win an A. I thought outside of that fourth quarter stretch where the offense just kind of wasn't there, I love the ball movement today. I thought Harden, Melton, Tobias, Trez, like it was high effort, high energy, and that's what we didn't see at the start of the season. And they're winning that way. No one raises a floor like Doc Rivers. Am I wrong?
It's incredible. When they don't have their talented players out there, he looks like a great coach. Put the talent players out there, like, what the hell am I watching?
Yeah, it's just staring at the ball, and it's tough. Yeah. But anyway, Sixers get the W. Very, very good win for Philadelphia. 129 to 126. Tiago, where can we find you, man?
Yeah, you can find me at Tiago PHL on Twitter. I'm trying to do a piece on Matisse Thybulle, why he should be playing a lot more. Reasons why he should be playing a lot more, because it's obvious that he should. I think at some point in the game today, I think he finished up, a plus 15? Plus 14?
He was a plus 14 in 21 minutes.
Yeah, and at one point he was a plus 11 in Tucker was like a -6, and I kept asking myself, why are they not switching roles? But trying to understand a little more why he should be playing and he's not playing, because I think the Sixers will need him down the stretch, playing a lot more minutes.
Yeah. You look here's a tweet for you, man. Matisse Thybulle heading into this game, the last 10 games, plus 4.9, shooting 57% from three, 20.8 net rating, which is the best on the Sixers.
Really?
And he's holding opponents to 29% from the field defensively, 14% from three, man. And then 35% effective field goal percentage in the pick and roll defensively. So the stats are there. It's just a matter of would you start with Thybulle over PJ Tucker?
1,000%.
Yeah, like that's the obvious. That's
no
what I would.
Brainer. I think if you go Thybulle and Melton with Joel Embiid, Tobias, Harden, I think that's the championship starting five. And
dude, you look
lean on that starting five. They can take down big time teams in the East. Take them down. Talk about Milwaukee, Brooklyn, Cleveland, Boston. They can go with any of these teams, but he's unwilling to really lean on those combinations. But we'll see.
Especially when the Sixers are going to be playing more zone defense. Like, it's a no-brainer. And you look up NBA lineup combinations, advanced stats, like there are not a lot of minutes, but Matisse Thybulle, if you look up best plus minus, best net rating, Thybulle's in there a lot. So
he's got a 98 defensive rating in a league where the offense has completely exploded. I mean, teams are like with 120 on a regular basis, and you have a player who performs at a 98 defensive rating when he's on the court. It's like unbelievable that they don't look at that and they're like, wow, this guy should be playing way more.
Yeah. Torrey Thompson says the only thing is they don't sag off of PJ for some reason.
That is a fallacy. So, I mean, we don't have the time to talk about this. Teams are sagging off PJ. Teams will sag off on anybody because Joel Embiid likes the ball in the paint at the top of the key and takes his time to make the decision. Joel is just not the kind of guy who's going to move the ball around. Yeah. So he sucks in the defense, and guys like PJ just do not make him pay. So, yeah, they're going to sag off Tobias. They're going to sag off PJ. They're going to sag off Matisse. And that's just the way it is based on the run offense. I mean, we can show many screenshots here when that has happened. It's just reality.
I feel like the only way you're going to get a little more out of or squeeze a little more out of PJ is if Doc changes the offense, which is not going to happen. Like, have more pick and rolls, more cuts to the basket. They're among dead last in cuts to the basket, like 10th percentile. They're awful. It's just not going to happen. It's like a circle in a square peg. What is the phrase? Like trying to fit a whatever. You know what I mean? He's just not what Doc wants to do offensively. Yeah. So we're wrapping it up. Thank you everyone for watching. Sixers get the W here. Follow me on Twitter if you want at Mr. Crackpot. Definitely follow Tiago on Twitter at TiagoPHL. One of the best Sixers Twitter follows there is, period. Thank you everyone for watching. We'll see you on the next Sixers post-game show. For Tiago, for myself, stay awesome, everyone.